I'm going to show you how to request new values. Workday provides us the ability to request Worktag values directly in the system. At a high-level view, you're able to submit a request. It may go for approval. The controller's office evaluates this request. The value is created, and then the requester is then notified once the request is complete. So let me show you a request in action. So first, you're going to search for Create Request. And then there's a couple things you can do here. If you know the specific request you're going to create, you could type that in. But if you want to see all the requests that you have access to, if you select all, I'm just going to scroll through here. You can see there's several request forms that you have the capability of submitting. So for today's purposes, we are going to submit a request for a new cost center. You can see I got two options. I am part of the university as this individual, so I'm going to submit that request. If for some reason I was to submit a request for another company, when it gets to the FDM administrator for creation, they will actually reject it and kick it back so I submit the right request. So you're going to want to make sure you select the one related to your company. So next, the form pulls up that I need to fill out. So it wants to know what my request is for. It's for a new cost center. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the questions that are on here. So my new cost center name is going to be Center for Aviation Studies. And then the purpose of this is we have a new center. And then should this cost center be included in a hierarchy? Yes, we always want to make sure that every cost center gets included in a hierarchy. And does this cost center require any personnel to move? We will have personnel that we have to move through a different process. And then what fund is used for org assignments? We're going to have the general fund be a default for that. There is a balancing unit that I want this cost center tied to, and it does already exist. So I'm going to go ahead and put that information here. And there's no fund that I want to default. And we're going to, again, talk about related work tags and what those are as we move forward in the course. I only want to allow the balancing unit that I entered to be used. So they can't use any other balancing unit with this cost center. So I'm going to type that in here. And I don't want to restrict the fund that can be used. So now that I have everything filled out, and you'll know, anything that's required, it will say required, I'm able to submit this transaction. And you can see that it shows you where it went. So up next, the next step in the process is for the finance FDM administrator to look at the request. And that is actually the role that will review and create the value. Now, it just so happens that the person that I was had access to initiate and approve the request. So if this person did not have access for approval, this would have routed to approval before going to the FDM administrator. So I just clicked on details and process. So the details, what you can see is a review of what I've submitted. So all those questions that were asked and what I populated as answers, that's what you see here. And then there was also an option to look at the process. And this is going to give you information on the steps, the status of those, the date they were completed. This due date, honestly, it's just a default of 2 days after that's submitted here. So that will change as each step progresses. And then you can see the actual person and where the request is sitting. So let's go ahead and click Done.